Hello my friends, and with each passing day there are more bad news and territorial losses. But those who closely watch the videos know that foreign analysts recently warned about it, saying that Ukraine desperately lacks ammunition and weapons. So, in the near future there will be bad news and more territorial losses. And if the Russians launch a new summer offensive, the situation may worsen further. But at the same time, the US doesn't have a plan B to Ukraine.
The United States did not come up with a plan B for Ukraine, the Biden administration is. Disappointed. Biden's team is increasingly disappointed in allies, Bloomberg reports. Congress will not approve the aid package for Kyiv, and the Europeans are in no hurry to use the profits from Russian assets. Meanwhile, the United States does not have a plan B to support Ukraine, the article emphasizes. Based on my more than 37 years of experience in the U.S. Army, I can say that if one side shoots and the other has nothing to respond with, then the other sooner or later loses. Therefore, the stakes are very high, U.S. General Christopher Cavally commented on the situation.
Unfortunately, support is extremely limited, so talk of advancement is no longer on the table, leading to the construction of defensive lines. And world leaders are already suggesting to dig in and end this conflict. Unfortunately, such statements are increasing, but we know that President Zelenskyi is against any freezing of the conflict. Therefore, the fighting continues. Let's now turn to the Chasiv Yar direction, because here the occupiers continue to advance on the outskirts and heavily shell the positions of the Ukrainian Armed Forces in the city. Ukrainian forces on site report a dire situation with shelling there.
On the outskirts of Chasiv Yar, the Russians received from us, the artillery of the orcs is completely dismantling everything. In Avdiivka, some positions were regained, some were lost. Avdiivka's positions are under control, comrades are killing Russians with drones.
What's happening today in Chasiv Yar is hell, even worse than what occurred in Bakhmut. So the Russians are now using not only artillery, but also bombs. Despite this, they haven't decreased their manpower. So today there are ongoing offensive actions in Chasiv and Ivanivsk. And we already know that part of Ivanivsk is under Russian control. So today, according to geolocation maps, it's confirmed that the Russians practically have full control over Bogdanivka and Ivanivsk. So this brings them closer to breaking through the water barrier. Considering the recent assaults on Stupachki, they might overcome this. So far, there is little good news from this direction. In the Avdiivka direction, the occupiers conducted 5 assaults in the areas of Umanske, Netailove and Novokalinove. Confirmation of Russian advancement is noted near Umanske, as battles are practically happening near the village. So they were started attempts to break through the ceramic area to move towards Ocheretine. So it's most likely from there they'll move forward Pokrovsk, as Budanov previously stated. So there have been any new Russian advancements in the past day, but shelling continues as usual. However, Russian military correspondents started claiming new successes yesterday evening.
Avdiivka direction, advance of the Russian armed forces near Novokalinovo. The situation as of 8 a.m. on April 12, 2024. In addition to the fighting west of Avdiivka, Russian troops are also advancing on the northern face. In the Novokalinovo area, the Russian armed forces occupied several landings south of the settlement. Aviation and artillery are striking the fortified area, the enemy is trying to counterattack. There is also information about the successful actions of the armed forces of the Russian Federation in the area of the road to Keramik along Stepnaya Street. Most likely, the progress is somewhat wider, but it is still difficult to determine the exact configuration of the LBS. Heavy fighting continues near Berdikai, just as in the plantations west of Tonenk. According to some reports, the Russian armed forces have reached the outskirts of Umansky, but so far there is no confirmation of this information.
If this information is confirmed, it means that the occupiers have started advancing through Ukrainian territory again quite rapidly, which is very concerning. In the direction of Marinka, the occupiers, as before, conduct more than 10 attacks a day and assault Krasnohorivka and Novomykhailivka. However, near Georgiivka, they still haven't achieved success, and the front line remains unchanged over the course of the day. In the Vuhledar area, today there are reports of offensive actions towards Urozhaine and Stromoyorske. Additionally, airstrikes have been conducted. However, the Russians haven't achieved any success in this section of the front, so the front line remains unchanged. In the Zaporizhzhia direction, the occupiers launched one attack on Robotine, but didn't succeed, so the front line remains unchanged and shelling continues as usual. However, the Ukrainian forces report that there will soon be significant activity here, as the Russians are amassing forces.
In the direction of Pryatyn, the Russians are also very active. Constant pressure from infantry formations, aircraft and UAVs. To date, 80 FPVs have been used against probable shelters, dugouts, positions, trying to destroy everything that does not please their eyes. In the rear, shelters with concrete floors are being erected and preparations are being made for more powerful assault operations.
In the direction of Kherson, the occupiers are shelling the Ukrainian positions on the left bank, and attacks continue on the right bank with artillery and airstrikes. So the situation there is difficult, but the Ukrainian forces maintain control over the positions. And now let's move on to the Luhansk direction. In the area of Siversk, the occupiers continue to advance on Bilohorivka, Vyimka, Rozdolivka and Verkhnyokamensky. So the activity is high. But despite this, the Ukrainian forces successfully hold the defense and the front line remains unchanged over the day. And the occupiers aim to strengthen the front line and advance at least to Siversk to further move towards Slavyansk and Kramatorsk. In the direction of Kryvyi, so the occupiers failed to break through to the village of Terny, and today the attacks have ceased. Only shelling continues along the entire front line, and here the Ukrainian forces are successfully eliminating the Russians, and due to significant losses, the Russians are increasingly resorting to regrouping. In the direction of Svatove, the occupiers continue shelling, but in minimal amounts, and there are no offensive actions as before. In the direction of Kupyansk, the situation remains unchanged, so the Russians continue shelling without offensive actions, while preparations for a new wave of attacks are ongoing. Meanwhile, Putin met with Lukashenko and told him that today's Russian strikes on Ukrainian energy infrastructure were demilitarization.
С решением одной из задач, которую мы перед собой ставили, а это демилитаризация, что мы прежде всего исходим из того, что мы таким образом влияем на ПК, на оборонно-промышленный комплекс Украины, причем напрямую. Вот, но если мы все-таки перейдем к тому, с чего я начал, перейдем к каким-то разговорам о разрешении всех вопросов другими способами, мы, конечно, как я уже много раз говорил на этот счет, мы к этому готовы.
And Russian propagandists claim that this war, with this war, they are attempting to change the future of Europe.
Мы хотим изменить будущее Европы. Но настоящее вы себе изгадили, господа европейцы. Вы выбрали, в конечном счете, вот этих дебилов, которые вами руководят. Но мы пытаемся изменить ваше будущее, которое означает 200-250 миллионов убитых и покалеченных европейцев. Вот такая будет цена ядерной войны. А между прочим, американцы, ну что, а им-то что? А им ничего, им нормально. Да, ну дойдет там облако какое-то, а может и не дойдет, может в океане, да, ну и так далее. Но, к сожалению, все наши попытки включить европейцам мозги на сегодняшний момент, они ни к чему не приводят. Но надо, по-моему, отбросить вот эту ложную нашу деликатность, что нет, европейской ядерной войны не будет. Нет, она будет, и надо об этом говорить прямо. И надо прямо говорить, какие европейские города превратятся в пыль, и какое количество жертв будет после попадания 5-6 ядерных боеприпасов по городу Парижу. И так далее. И каждый европеец, например, я бы сделал так, каждый европеец свой почтовый ящик должен получить от нас открытку. Да? Вот его дом, вот куда, вот военный объект НАТО, вот куда прилетает, вот что останется от его дома. Надо вбить в голову каждому европейскому обывателю, что он тоже может погибнуть. Потому что европейский обыватель последние 60 лет жил в полном ощущении, что вообще-то он бессмертный.
And that's all from me. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on all the latest news. Thank you for watching, and see you next time. Bye bye.